Hello students, today I am going to discuss zoology section of the test dated 14th of November 2025. The chapters I am discussing are body fluids, neural and chemical coordination. Questions would be from 46 to 90. The first question here says, the platelets are fragments of. Platelets are fragments of which cells? A. Megakaryocyte. The answer is A. But let's see the other options. B. Lymphocyte. C. Monocyte. D. Basophils. All these three cells are WBCs. So the answer is here option A. Megakaryocytes. Going to the next question. Which of these act as scavengers for dead tissue? Scavengers are the cells which will eat up debris, means dead decayed matter. That means these cells are going to perform phagocytosis. Let's see the options. Option A says eosinophil. Eosinophil is not a phagocyte. Lymphocytes are also not phagocytes, monocytes are phagocytes, and basophils are also not phagocytes. So the answer is option C. Going to 48th question. Properties of human RBCs are 1. Devoid of nucleus, correct. Formed in bone marrow, absolutely correct. They possess healing properties, wrong. That is the function of WBCs. They help in healing. Biconcave in shape, correct. Help in blood clotting, wrong. Blood clotting is the function of platelets. So we'll have to look for an option which will say 1, 2 and 4 are correct. So answer is option B. Going to 49th question. Which of these cells increase during allergic conditions? Allergy is a result of too much of histamine. So we have to look at the cell that has antihistamine property. So any cell which will be antihistaminic, which will reduce inflammation and therefore allergy. The answer would be A. Eosinophil. B. Lymphocytes are not antihistaminic. Basophils in fact produce histamine, and neutrophils are phagocytes. So answer is option A. Coming to the 50th question. Which of the following will happen if Rh negative person is exposed to Rh positive person? So there is a person which is Rh negative, and there is another person which is Rh positive. Rh negative person has RBCs without no Rh antigen, whereas there will be Rh antigen on, so there is say Rh antigen present on Rh positive person. So if this Rh positive enters the body of Rh negative person, this antigen will be introduced. And this Rh antigen will be detected as a foreign body, and therefore immunity is going to produce antibody against them. So answer is option D. Antibody will form. Nevertheless, we should look at other options as well. Option A says antigen formation takes place. No, antigen formation would not take place. Positive and negative Rh antigen cancel each other out. There is no such cancellation. C, nothing will happen. And D, antibody will form. So we have already derived at the answer D. Coming to the 51st question. Prothrombinase is formed in the presence of. Prothrombinase is an enzyme that converts prothrombin to thrombin, which is an essential step in the process of clotting. And you also know there is a very important clotting factor, which is Ca2+. So the ion responsible for formation of prothrombin is Ca2+. So answer is option A. Other options are Mg2+, Fe2+, and Fe3+. Let's go to 52nd question. Lymphatic system is an elaborate network of vessels which collect interstitial fluid, intrastitial fluid, plasma fluid, protein fluid. Now, if you can recollect the formation of lymph, this is a blood capillary, and the substances that leak out of capillary in the tissue space. So let's say, for example, these are cells of the tissue, and this is the tissue space. This fluid is now called the interstitial fluid. The very same fluid, when it enters lymph vessels, so for example, this is a lymph vessel. So when it enters the lymph vessel, this very interstitial fluid will be given the name lymph. So what is lymph vessel carrying? It's carrying interstitial fluid. Answer is option A. Match the following columns. Fish, amphibian, reptile, mammal on the left, column 1. On the right, there is number of atria and ventricles. You know, fish has got 2 chambered heart, and 2 chambered heart would mean 1 atrium and 1 ventricle. So 1 goes with 1. Amphibian and reptile have 3 chambered heart. So the answer for both 2 and 3 is going to be 2 atria and 1 ventricle. Mammals have 4 chambered hearts, so 2 atria and 2 ventricles. So 4 goes with 2, 1 and 2 both go with 3, and 1 goes with 1. So what is the correct answer? Option C. Going to the 54th question. The question says, a person's aortic valve is damaged. Which of the following conditions can never occur? Firstly, we'll have to see where is aortic valve. Aortic valve is present between the left ventricle and the systemic aorta. The kind of blood that systemic aorta gets is oxygenated blood, and the left ventricle receives this blood from left atrium. So the flow of blood is left atrium to left ventricle to systemic aorta, to different parts of the body. Between left atrium and left ventricle, there is a valve called the bicuspid valve or mitral valve. So let's see the options. The question says, I'll read the question one more time. If a person's aortic valve is damaged, which of the following conditions can never occur, will not occur? Blood may remain in the left ventricle. No, that will not happen, because blood will flow. If the valve is damaged, there could be backflow. Okay. A heart murmur may be heard. That is a possibility. Heart murmur is heard only when there is a valve defect. Blood leaks back into the left ventricle from aorta. This is very much possible. Blood leaks back into left atrium from left ventricle. That is also possible. So which will never occur? The answer is option D. the blood will not leak back into left atrium. The blood wouldn't go back into the left atrium because the defect is not in the bicuspid valve. The defect is in the aortic valve. So answer is option D. The blood will never leak back from left ventricle to left atrium in case of aortic valve defect. Going to 55th question. The part of heart which receives impulse from SA node is, SA node is located in the right atrium. And from SA node, the signals then go to AV node. But before they reach the AV node, they pass through both the atria. So the answer is option A, atria. During ventricular systole. What happens during ventricular systole, children? The name tells you what happens. Ventricles contract, but atria are relaxed. This is a concept taught to you in the topic cardiac cycle. Okay, blood does not flow in any direction. Wrong. Blood will flow from ventricles into the arteries. Blood flows from ventricle into great arteries. This is the right answer. By great arteries, you mean right ventricle will send blood to pulmonary artery, and the left ventricle will send its blood to systemic aorta. And both of these are collectively called the great arteries. Great arteries, by that you mean big size arteries close to heart. Blood flows from right atrium to right ventricle. Wrong, because the ventricle is contracting, it will not receive blood. Blood flows from left atrium to left ventricle. Again wrong, because ventricle is contracting, it doesn't receive blood. So answer is option B. 57th question. The wave indicating ventricular relaxation is, ECG is a complex made up of 5 waves, P wave, QRS complex and T wave. P wave indicates atrial depolarization and therefore atrial contraction. QRS denotes ventricular depolarization and therefore ventricular contraction, whereas T wave denotes ventricular relaxation, meaning repolarization. So answer is option C. Going to 58th question. It's a diagram based question. You have to identify A to F in the given diagram of human heart and choose the correct option. Let's see the closest that we can identify. If you look at B, B is the right atrium. So let's see, B is right atrium. Option A says B is right atrium. B says B is right atrium. C also says B is right atrium. D option says it's left atrium. So D is ruled out. D is wrong. So now you have to rule out A, B and C. Now what is right below the right atrium is the right ventricle. So C must be right ventricle. Option C, right ventricle, is in B and C. A says it's left atrium. So A is also wrong. Now you have to rule out B and C. Let's see what D is. D is the left atrium. So if D is left atrium, D's left atrium is only shown in C option. So C is correct. D says left ventricle, so it's wrong. So answer is option C. Let's read out the option C. A is vena cava, absolutely right, it's the superior vena cava. E is left ventricle, yes, it's right, E is left ventricle. F is interventricular septum, absolutely right. Okay, so answer is option C. Coming to the 59th question. Mark the pair of substances among the following which is essential for coagulation of blood. So here you have to identify clotting factors or coagulation factors. Option A says heparin and calcium ions. Calcium is required for clotting, but heparin is an anticoagulant, means it will oppose coagulation. So any option with heparin, that is A is wrong. D is also wrong because it has heparin. Let's see what B has to say. Calcium and platelet, absolutely bang on. B is the answer. Why C wrong? Oxalates and citrates, these are also anticoagulants. So answer is option B. Coming to question number 60. It's a match the column question. Column A says lymphatic system, pulmonary vein, thrombocytes and lymphocytes. Let's match it with column B. Lymphatic system drains back the tissue fluid to circulatory system, so it goes with 1. Pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood, that's the only vein that carries oxygenated blood. Thrombocytes, coagulation. Lymphocytes, immune response, 4. So we have to look at option that says 1 with 3, 2 with 1, 3 with 4 and 4 with 2. Answer is option B. Coming to 61st question. In Hydra, the neural organization comprises of, answer is A, network of neurons, is the most primitive nervous system of the animal kingdom. The first group of animals to have nervous system. Going to 62nd question. The Schwann cell is a non-myelinated nerve fiber. Schwann cell is a non-myelinated nerve fiber associated with myelin sheath. A connective tissue cell once associated with myelinated and non-myelinated nerve fiber. So answer is option D. Your NCERT says that Schwann cell is present in myelinated nerve fiber as well as non-myelinated nerve fiber. But in non-myelinated nerve fiber, it does not secrete myelin sheath. Okay. Sixty-third question. The resting state of neuronal membrane, diffusion due to concentration gradients, if allowed, would drive. Okay. Let's see. Firstly, here they are talking about the resting state. You know what happens in the resting state? There is more of Na plus outside and less of Na plus inside, and there is more of K plus inside and less of K plus outside. So if along the gradient, if they were allowed to move along the gradient, K plus would have gone out of the cell and Na plus would have entered the cell. So we look at an option which says Na plus goes in and K plus goes out. So let's see what first option has to say. K plus and Na plus out of the cell, wrong. Na plus into the cell, this is correct. Na plus out of the cell, wrong. K plus into the cell, no. So answer is option B. Going to 64th question. Identify the false statement. You have to find out which is false. Let's check. Statement 1 says neurons carry impulse in polarized state. Wrong. They carry impulse into depolarized state. Okay, so this word is wrong. Now, statement A in itself is the answer, but we'll still look at options B, C and D. Neurons are excitable, selectively permeable cells. It's correct. Neurons remain surrounded by ECF, extracellular fluid, absolutely correct. In non-conducting neuron, interior is more negative, electronegative than the surrounding, absolutely correct. So answer is option A. That's the only false statement in the question. Coming to 65th question, dura mater is attached to. Dura mater, is a meninx covering the brain. And dura mater is the outermost. Just after dura mater, there will be cranium. So where is dura mater attached? Outer side of cranium? No, it's not above the cranium, it's under the cranium, so inner side of cranium. The one attached to brain is pia mater. And one attached to spinal cord is also pia mater. So answer is option B. Coming to 66th question, match the column. Column 1 says CNS, PNS, afferent fiber and efferent fiber. CNS comprises of brain and spinal cord, so 1 goes with 3. PNS comprises of nerves of the body, so 4. Afferent fibers from tissue organ to CNS, so 1. Efferent fibers from CNS to tissue and organs. So let's see, the answer is option C. Coming to 67th question, it's a diagram based question. The figure shows axon terminal and synapse. Select the option giving correct identifications. A is axon terminal. D are synaptic vesicles. C are the receptors present on the postsynaptic membrane. And B is the postsynaptic membrane. So let's see which is the correct option. A, axon terminal is correct. B, serotonin complex is wrong. So A is not the answer. A, action potential, wrong. B, neurotransmitter. D, receptor capsules, wrong. D is synaptic vesicles, so this is wrong. Now what remains is option D. C is the receptor and D are the synaptic vesicles. So answer is option D. Going to 68th question. The most abundant intracellular cation. Okay, if you remember, intracellular fluid is rich in K+. So the answer is 3K+. Or C option. Coming to 69th question. The receptor sites for neurotransmitters are present on. Okay, we just saw the image of the synapse. Okay, you know that synaptic knob or synaptic bulb has the vesicles which will release neurotransmitter, and this neurotransmitter will attach to the receptors which are present on the postsynaptic membrane. So this is the postsynaptic membrane. So answer is option C. Coming to 70th question, 7070. Again you have to look at the following structures or regions and incorrectly paired with this function. So you have to look for a wrong match, wrong pair. Medulla oblongata controls respiration and cardiovascular reflexes is right. Hypothalamus production of releasing hormones and regulation of temperature, hunger, thirst, absolutely right. Limbic system contains fiber tracts that interconnect different regions of the brain and controls movement. Wrong. Limbic system is known to control emotions. So your answer should be 3, but we'll still read 4th option. Corpus callosum are band of fibers interconnecting left and right cerebral hemispheres is correct. So answer is option C or 3. Children, going to the 71st question. The question says, which of the following is associated with decrease in cardiac output? A, sympathetic nerves. B. Parasympathetic neural signals. C. Pneumotaxic center. D. Adrenal medullary hormones. Okay, you know, decrease in cardiac output and decrease in heart rate both is done by parasympathetic neural signals. Sympathetic ones increase. Adrenal medullary hormones means adrenaline and noradrenaline also increase. And pneumotaxic center is the one that controls breathing. So the answer is option B. Going to the 72nd question. With reference to hormones, target organ means. Target organ is the one on which hormone acts. Okay. The organ that secretes the hormone, no, that cannot be the answer. It's the endocrine gland. The organ that controls the secretion of hormone, that is also not the target organ. The organ that bears receptor for the hormone, yes, that is the answer. Organ that breaks down the hormone, no. So answer is option C. The secretion of, that is the 73rd question, secretion of prolactin by acidophils is stimulated by, you know, prolactin is a hormone of anterior pituitary. And anterior pituitary is controlled by hypothalamus. So hypothalamus has got two types of hormones, RH and IH. RH causes the hormone to be produced, releasing hormone, and IH inhibits, stops. So the hormone that controls prolactin is PRF, prolactin releasing factor. Let's see what is B. PIF is prolactin inhibiting factor, and that is going to stop the production of prolactin. GHRF is growth hormone releasing factor. GHIF is growth hormone inhibiting factor. So, question 74. Release of STH is inhibited by. What is STH? STH is somatotropic hormone, or in other words, growth hormone. So, inhibition of growth hormone is done by GHIH, and the other name of GHIH is somatostatin. So, answer is option A. Option B, C and D are somatotrophin. Somatotrophin ही खुद STH है. ADH is antidiuretic hormone and GTH is just an option to mislead you. Okay. 75th question. What is the odd pair? Thyroxine, goiter. Goiter is the deficiency disease in thyroid. Growth hormone deficiency, dwarfism. Correct match. ADH, diabetes insipidus. Correct. Oxytocin, acromegaly. Incorrect. You know, deficiency of GH. The excess of GH in adulthood causes acromegaly. So the answer is option D. Going to 76th question. A secondary rise in growth hormone after puberty. What do you mean by after puberty? The bone ends have fused. So now if there is increase in GH, length of the bones cannot increase. Length won't increase. Okay. So after puberty, the disease that will be caused is B, acromegaly. In the previous question, we just spoke about acromegaly caused by excess of GH in adults. 77th question. If ADH is deficient, you know ADH is a antidiuretic hormone. It does not allow diuresis, means urine will be concentrated in presence of ADH. Okay. So what happens if ADH is less? If ADH is low, Urine concentration will not take place and urine will remain dilute. But let's see what are the options. A says more water is reabsorbed. Wrong. Less water is reabsorbed to produce large amount of dilute urine. That is the answer. But we'll still look at option C and D. It helps to produce more milk during lactation. No, that's the job of prolactin. No milk is produced. Again, it does not have any effect on milk. Answer is option B. Coming to 78th question, children. Corticotrophin is secreted by. Corticotrophin is another name for ACTH, adrenocorticotrophic hormone, and that is a hormone of anterior pituitary. This ACTH acts on adrenal gland but is produced by anterior pituitary. So they are asking you corticotrophin is secreted by. So answer is pituitary. Coming to 79th question. Pineal gland is located on the dorsal side of forebrain. Okay, directly from NCERT. Okay, you should remember that pineal gland is an extension of epithalamus, which is a part of diencephalon, which is a part of forebrain. So the answer is option C. Going to 80th question. Caloriegenic effect of thyroxine is. Now what is caloriegenic? Caloriegenic means, calorie is a measurement of heat. So production of heat done by T3 and T4 hormones. How do they produce heat? Glucose plus oxygen forms ATP. But along with ATP, heat is released. Okay, so that release of heat is called the caloriegenic effect of thyroxine. So what should be the answer? What is the process of caloriegenic effect? Glucose plus oxygen. So this is what we call oxidation of glucose. So increase in glucose oxidation seems the most right answer, but we'll see option B, C and D. B says normal control of protein synthesis. No. Development of mental faculties. No. Control of physical growth. No. Answer is option A. Going to 81st question, children. The secretion of which of the following hormones is not regulated by TSH? Firstly, what is TSH? Thyroid stimulating hormone. It acts on thyroid gland and controls production of T3 and T4. T4 is the one also called thyroxine, whereas TCT is produced in response to blood calcium levels. Okay, so TCT is not controlled by TSH. Answer is option C. Option A, B. T3 and T4 are controlled by TSH and thyroxine is the other name for T4. So essentially B and D options are the same. Going to 82nd question. The endocrine gland stores its secretion in the extracellular space before discharging into the blood is A, adrenals, B, pancreas, C, testes, D, thyroid. Answer is D, thyroid. Thyroid gland has a follicle. This follicular cells produce a protein and that is stored in this space, extracellular space, and this protein is called thyroglobulin, which is stored in the lumen of thyroid follicle. This is the only gland in your body to store its hormone before release. 83rd question. Number of lobes of thyroid gland is 2. There are 2 lobes. So lobe 1, lobe 2. in between connection is called isthmus. It's a connective tissue band. So answer is option C. Coming to 84th question. Thyrocalcitonin is secreted by. Thyrocalcitonin is shortly called TCT. TCT is a secretion of thyroid. Thyroid glands are made up of multiple follicles. So these are follicles. And the cells inside the follicles are called follicular cells. These cells produce T3 and T4. But there are cells in between the follicles called the parafollicular cells, which are same as C cells or also called clear cells. And these are the ones that secrete TCT. So your answer is C cells. Answer is option B. Coming to 85th question, children. Which of the following relationship between endocrine glands and then function is incorrect? So you have to look at the wrong match. Thyroid regulates oxygen utilization and respiration. We just spoke about this. It controls glucose plus oxygen reaction. So this is a correct match. Adrenal cortex regulates mineral and osmotic balance. Of course, adrenal cortex produces aldosterone. And aldosterone is a mineralocorticoid balancing Na plus K plus levels. Parathyroid regulates basal metabolic rate. The basal metabolic rate is in the control of T3 and T4, thyroid hormones, and not parathyroid. So most likely the answer is option C. Let's see the D option. Adenohypophysis growth regulation. It is also correct. Adenohypophysis secretes GH and GH is responsible for growth. So the incorrect match is answer option C. Going to 86th question, children. Identify the hypercalcemic hormone. Children, hypercalcemic means increases blood calcium level. Now, there are two hormones in your syllabus which act on blood calcium level. One is parathyroid hormone PTH and other is TCT. TCT is thyrocalcitonin. Now, increasing blood sugar levels, blood calcium levels is the job of PTH. How will it do it? According to NCERT, you know what PTH does? PTH brings calcium from three places to blood. These three places are, one is your digestive system, that is the GI tract, other is kidneys, and of course, most importantly, bone. So, parathyroid hormone increases blood calcium levels by bringing them from GI tract, kidneys and blood. So, answer is option B. Going to 87th question. Immune response is suppressed by. Answer is A. Cortisol. Direct NCERT. Cortisol is an immunosuppressant. It is an anti-inflammatory hormone. Coming to 88th question. Androgens act on A and influence the male sexual behavior called B. Now, these hormones produce effect C on protein and carbohydrate metabolism. Choose the combination of A, B and C. This is directly a line picked up from NCERT. Okay, if you remember, male sexual behavior is called libido. So, B has to be libido. Let's look at what option has B libido. All four. Okay, but what will control the libido is central nervous system. So, you have to look at option which says CNS. So, it's C and D. Now, lastly, testosterone has what effect on protein and carbohydrate metabolism? Children, it builds up muscle. So, it's anabolic. So, answer is option C. Coming to 89th question. Ketosis is seen in. What is ketosis? Production of ketones. Okay, production of ketones happens in diabetes mellitus. Okay, People having diabetes produce too much ketones in blood, and these ketones are also present in urine. So in another chapter you have learned that diabetic patients show ketone urea as well. So how will it come to urine? Only if it is present in blood. So what is ketosis? Presence of ketones in blood. Answer for this question is option B. Going to the last one in this test, odd man out. If you look at options, A, cyclic AMP, B, ATP, C, calcium, D, IP3. Option A, C and D are secondary messengers in hormone action. Particularly protein hormones or peptide hormones. So the only one which is not a messenger is ATP. So answer is option B. B is the odd one out. That's it, children. All the very best for the next test that is coming up. God bless.